Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Monster Party. Yes, it's another show, and this time it's about dark rides.
Yes, who's feeling good?
I am Weird Matt Weinhold.
And I'm Strange Larry Stroth.
And I'm Gonzo James GONIS.
And I'm Ken Daly.
Ken Daly,
Just
welcome.
a regular Joe.
Our special guest.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Ken.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you. You're our special guest and also our of course, our normal cast member, SHAWN Sheridan, couldn't be here because apparently he's got this thing called a life.
Can you
What's his
believe it?
problem?
Yeah.
I know.
But we don't. So,
No.
Hey. Woo. All right. So we are talking about basically scary rides.
Scary dark
Scary
rides.
rides, and the definition of a dark ride can go beyond what normally people think of as a dark ride.
Well, I definitely have an idea of what a dark ride is. I mean, you may feel differently, but a dark ride to me, it's a ride where obviously when you go into it, it's all dark.
All
inside, and
dark.
you are
Yeah.
inside.
You are inside.
It's a ride and it's dark.
That's your
Yes.
classic dark ride. But
That-
I think we should expand this to include dark in theme. A ride, say, like a corn maze or a haunted house maze or a Southwest flight.
Man. Well,
please.
I don't.
that hurts.
I mean, in a way, that a Southwest flight could be considered a dark ride, but I don't see the hayride thing. But you guys maybe you can try and convince.
Oh,
me
I didn't
about
even
that.
say hayride, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah, let's talk about hayride.
Let's talk about
Oh,
hayride.
great.
You know what? Let's make this a
Great.
hayride episode instead.
Well,
Just any hayride.
Man, I've been on so many good hay rides.
Well,
one.
Well, wouldn't you say one of the greatest dark rides? I mean, where a lot
the
of
mother
money
of
is
all.
spent. Yeah, it has to be.
It's a small world.
It's dark.
No,
It's a ride.
It is a ride.
Soaring over America?
No. I would have to say it's got to be
Little Mermaid.
No, it's Disney's Haunted Mansion.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
oh, yeah.
I mean,
like
come
that
on.
one.
That is.
I'm not familiar with this Disney person, but I have been on that ride. Yeah.
And I think what's amazing about it is, I mean, this ride was made, or the first one at Disneyland was 1968.
Opened in 69, but was
69.
around for about 8 years.
They worked on it for a long time.
Well, they
And-
built it, and it sort of sat there, and they
Yeah.
were trying to figure out exactly what they wanted to do.
I mean, my understanding
And there were
was,
certain things that didn't work too, right?
Well, yeah, my understanding
Yes.
was they when they were talking about trying to do a like a haunted mansion type ride. I guess there was a Disney had a certain ideas about. He didn't want to have a story. He just wanted to have all these little different spooky vignettes around. And I think originally it was going to be a walk. You just
it was
something
going to be
you
a
walk
walkthrough,
through.
yeah. Where you're led by sort of the butler of the house,
Mm-hmm.
and but there was still like the elevator aspect was there,
Mm-hmm.
and but yeah, it was more of like a haunted house.
And that is what is so great about what we finally got, the idea that it's a little bit of walk and then you get in the car.
Yeah.
Like I've always enjoyed that part. I always like the fact that like it was almost like two rides in one.
And the neat thing about it is because it doesn't. I mean, there are little bits and pieces where it's like when you go into a certain area, it tells its own little story in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not like one continuous, through line through the whole thing. It's just kind of a whole. It's like little spooky vignettes.
It's not like Peter Pan where it tells the
no.
story through the ride.
No,
Yeah.
And there were stories.
Yeah.
Well, there's like the bride.
That's
The original story was it was a sea captain came back from being out to sea and found out that his wife had taken another lover or something like that.
God.
So
Yeah.
he bricked her up in a wall and
The happiest
killed
place in the
himself. And that's basically become the hanging man in the stretching room.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the bride is sort of survived, but now it's changed to this thing where it's this bride that's decapitated.
Ken, correct me if I'm wrong here. My understanding too is like there were some people who wanted to be really, really creepy, and then there was others like I guess it was Mark Davis, I guess, who was an animator,
Yeah.
who wanted to make things a little bit more fun. and
and Walt
spooky.
wanted it to be fun too.
Yeah.
His idea was that it was sort of a place that ghosts went to relax.
Yeah.
It was their
sounds terrifying.
their resort kind of.
Now we should mention to our listeners that Ken, you're not only a big Disneyland aficionado, but you practically live at the park, don't you?
I go there often.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a pass.
I knew you went a lot, but last time I went a few months ago, I actually saw you there.
Yeah,
I've never in my life seen anyone I know at Disneyland.
I see a lot of people I know at Disneyland.
Like Ken must be here
Every
all
time
the
I go,
time.
every time I go, I see this Mickey. Every time I'm there,
Damn coincidence.
he got a pass.
Now, did you see Ken by the Haunted Mansion?
Where was it? I think it was near there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was near the lake.
Now, would you say
Island Square.
are you able to say that you can go on that ride and you basically know like every word or every?
Yes.
Okay, really, really. Do you have like a favorite part of the Haunted Mansion? Is there like a part they go? Oh, I just wish the ride could just stop and I could just sit here.
I've stopped at many points in it because
really?
it breaks down, or a guest who needs assistance.
That's what
it'll
I
stop.
think. That's what I think. It's
Yeah,
not
well,
so much
that's very often. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see there's certain doom buggies that have a bat on them, and that means that's a rider that needs assistance. They'll put a Velcro bat on the.
They put
Wow.
so it's not so. So in other words, it's not a specific like car that comes by. And they go,
No,
okay, we
although
got to
there
wait for the
there
bat.
might
We got to
be
wait
a
for the bat.
wheelchair
Oh, here comes the
car.
bat one, and then they put a little sticker on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So now you were saying that originally the idea was to make it a little more fun, and that's why I think the ghosts are a little kind of goofier.
Yes.
But now I have been to Disneyland Paris,
Which is
and the Phantom Manor. Now, when you go on that one, that is genuinely scary.
yeah, well, that's
Really?
way
Oh,
after
yeah.
Disney.
It's
so,
way after
yeah.
Disney, but like, and also the whole bride thing is a reoccurring theme all the way through.
No.
Yes, but the type of ghouls, I mean, oh my God, there's like zombies.
Yeah, it goes
and
zombie
there's-
definitely towards the end.
Yeah,
it's full
there's
zombie.
like skeletons with half the flesh coming off, and
My
it
God,
just
I don't think I didn't know
so
that. Here, I'm
spooky
looking up
and weird.
The end is sort of like you're sort of underground in a graveyard as opposed to visiting the partying graveyard.
Yeah.
It's at Disneyland.
And it's in Frontierland.
Yeah, well, it's
so
Old
That
West.
doesn't
it's a
make
whole
any
old
sense.
west. It's an old west thing.
Really?
Yeah.
And
It's like
there's no
an
grim-
underground old western town.
Okay.
And there's no grinning ghosts.
Not that I remember. There's
it's one of my favorite
but there's a ghost that has like a top hat who is kind of like sort of a skull, like Phantom of the almost like London After Midnight
Gotcha.
looking kind of character, and he keeps showing up. But yeah, very spooky, very dark.
Yeah, the music's
and
different. It's Vincent Price, I believe, narrates
Vincent
it.
Price does narration.
No
yeah.
way.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, that's an
Yeah.
amazing ride.
And it is the best part of that park because that park, just in general, if you're ever going to go to Disneyland Paris, I don't think they've oiled anything or given anything a fresh coat of paint since it opened.
Really?
So there's a little bit of like, oh, this is a cigarette pack. Okay, yeah, it's not like
It's like when Eisner was running Disneyland.
yes, yeah,
Didn't clean it up. There were wires hanging out.
yeah.
my
That's a little rough.
One
but-
thing that always hits me about the Haunted Mansion is Paul Frees doing the narration.
yeah, that voice.
How much he nails Orson Welles' voice.
Yeah.
I could have sworn for years that it was Orson Welles, and it was only
Yeah, it's
later
amazing.
I thought, you know what? No, it's Paul Frees doing Welles.
And now there's a new guy who does Paul Frees doing the voice when they go Nightmare Before Christmas. He does a new narration, and he's really great too because he's obviously a big fan of the ride and a big fan of Paul Frees. So it's and they do. I think they used a little bit of modulation or whatnot.
And they only do that during Christmas time, right?
Yes. Well, it's September through February. I think.
So what they do is they take the Haunted Mansion and they give it that Nightmare Before Christmas twist. They have,
redress everything.
They have Jack Skellington and Zero, the little dog, and I think I've seen Sally and pop up.
Oogie
and
Boogie.
yeah,
Oogie Boogie
and I
is there.
enjoyed that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
great.
the fact that they do that.
A lot of people
It's-
don't like it, and I'm not one of those people. I think it's great.
No, I like it. And although I have to say something about the original, we were talking about Paul Frees.
Yeah.
And Paul Frees, like, I so love that ride growing up that Paul Frees narration is almost like a calming, like, voice in my head that when I hear
a vocal
it,
salve.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And it just when I hear that voice, it just everything is right in my world.
You know, it's funny. I went on the ride no more than let's say 3 weeks ago, and what was really great for me is when you go into the elevator room. And there's all there are all these teenagers and stuff, and they're all kind of like making noise and stuff. And Paul Frees's voice starts, and all of a sudden it just got quiet. As all these kids
Still
are listening.
very commanding.
But then the thing that blew me away is when he says, "This chamber has no windows," and everybody said, "And no doors." It's like it was so popular and cool. And his voice. This was done ages ago.
Yeah.
But still, there's something about it that's just so timeless and creepy that the teenage kids love.
Well, also that it's Disneyland, and the first thing that you are experiencing is someone telling you the only way you're going to get out of this ride is to kill yourself. Exactly. Amazing.
I might not fly today.
Yeah, that if that were a fresh thing for Disneyland, I don't know if it would have flown. Yeah.
Except maybe in Paris.
Yeah,
Where
Paris,
apparently you can get away with it.
Yeah, you'd have to shoot somebody else.
Now, there's got to be a stretching room. Oh, yeah, there is a stretching room.
Yes, there is.
Paintings are different.
Paintings are different.
And then
it's all the same person.
And is there a hanging?
I believe it's the bride.
Uh-huh. Okay,
And so-
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then is there a hanging person at the top or no?
I don't. Wow. I don't think so. I think it's something different.
Did
But-
you go to Tokyo Disneyland
I'm not
Haunted
sure.
Mansion?
I did not.
That's very much like Florida's.
Is it?
Yeah,
it's very
I
much
didn't
like
go
Walt
when I
Disney
went to Tokyo. We didn't do the regular Disneyland because I had just read up on it, and I guess so many of the rides were very similar.
Right.
And so we opted for Disneyland Sea,
Right.
which is this ocean themed park that has all these different ports, and they're the different lands. And talk about a great dark ride is the Journey to the Center of the Earth ride. And this is a ride where you get in this sort of drill car and you're going lower and lower into the Earth's crust. And as you go down, the flora starts to get a little weird, and there's different animals, and the animals turn into weird crawling crab things. And it just gets bizarre and more bizarre. And then finally, when you get to the bottom, all of a sudden this giant Lovecraftian, weird, carnivorous worm thing just flies out of a cave and goes, "Argh!" And then immediately you go straight up and you're back up on the surface again.
Is it a simulator ride, or is it an actual?
No.
A
It's
physical,
all
an actual-
animatronics.
You're kidding.
It's all
man.
animatronics, and it's so great. It's just done with so much love. And there's also a 20,000 Leagues thing, which is pretty cool too. And you get to see little underwater people. But
Isn't that more like a bathysphere or something?
yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's still good. But if there's one ride that you have to get on if you ever go to Disneyland Sea, it's the Journey to the
And that's
Center
in
of the
Tokyo.
Earth. It's in Tokyo. Yes,
Tokyo.
yeah.
Give
So
Give
good.
him credit for bringing back Jules Verne, because we'll never see the 20,000 Leagues ride at the Magic Kingdom again,
Right.
probably. No,
Well,
it's-
and what's great about
Although they
going
do-
to Paris Disneyland is that because it's Jules Verne, they love all that stuff. So the original walkthrough of the Nautilus is there.
That's great.
Nice.
That's
It's all very Jules Verne, steampunky looking.
There's a lot of even Space Mountain is very steampunk.
Yeah. They did that here for a while in the 90s, and it looked like crap.
I was
Because it
very-
was
I
all
was very
like
upset
pink
at
and
that.
pastel.
Yeah, they
It was
didn't
very-
do-
It was a very dumb steampunk.
Even the
Michael
even,
Eisner again.
Even the rockets. Isn't that's sort of their attempt to make it
it's still
kind
like
of
that now? Yeah,
terrible?
I actually
but
don't
Space
mind-
Mountain is back to the original.
I don't mind. I
Did
don't
that
mind
happen because of protest? Did people
Yes,
complain?
yeah, people. it
Wow,
just-
that's
it didn't
great.
look good.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that
Once they get
people
rid
are.
of the rocket rods, I think they just got rid of all that stuff.
I'm just glad that people are taking to the streets with a legitimate cause. I just think that's important.
I did go to the Magic Kingdom in Tokyo, and the one thing I remember about it more than anything else, it's very, very similar to Disneyland here. In the Pirates of the Caribbean, you know that the talking skull that tells you to keep your hands and feet in the boat, it's speaking Japanese. When most of the rest of Tokyo Disneyland is just like the rides here, and they're speaking and
narration's
singing
English,
English.
yeah.
And here you've got the skull and it's speaking Japanese.
Wow.
Were the pirates singing in Japanese?
No, that was the same.
Wow.
Yo ho,
Yo,
yo
yo,
ho. Yeah.
Which is that's another cool dark ride too.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
A water
Sure.
water
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah. And there's a lot of talk about monstery horror stuff. Like
Well,
the first.
Nothing but death. The first whole part of it.
all
It's
those
skeletons.
skeletons are so great.
Yeah.
Oh,
and there's that one part where it's the skeleton on the wheel of the ship,
Yeah.
and the rain and everything,
lightning.
and lightning is so spooky.
It's one of the best. It's one
Yeah.
of those best
And
little
it's
scenes.
beautiful too in its own way too.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Disney across the board, the just regular Disneyland has so many great dark rides. Even the ones they're lighter and kind of family-like take on a very dark, scary quality. Like we were talking Peter Pan and
Yeah. Snow White. Super creepy.
Snow White really is
But
horror.
see, the funny thing about that is Ken and I were talking earlier. It's people, they say, oh, the Snow White ride. Well, it's not called the Snow White ride. It's
Right.
called
Snow White Scary Adventures.
Scary Adventure.
Now,
And-
was that canceled or moved or
They softened it. The one in Florida, I believe, was either redone completely or taken out. I think it might be gone in Florida. I'm not sure. I haven't been there in years. But the one here, it's basically you're being chased and someone's trying to kill you the whole time by poisoning you to death.
and then all of a sudden, at the last 2 seconds of the ride, there's
Well, it's funny you should say because I just went
Then
on.
it's happy.
I just went on with my daughter who loves the ride. But it's funny how the first part you go through and you're in the dwarf's house and
Yeah, it's
everything's
all happy
funny
and
and happy,
great. Yeah.
and then you go into the witch's castle and she turns around and she's there, and then you're
it's
right.
just horrible from then on.
Well, and then what happens is you're going through the forest and my daughter said something interesting. She says, Daddy, it's not really like creatures and monsters that Snow White sees. She's actually having a hallucination. And if you look at the movie, it's like when Snow White thinks she's seen alligators.
Yeah, they're just logs.
And they're just logs.
Yeah.
But you go through that in the ride.
Yeah.
And the thing that always gets me about that ride, as great as it is, the last thing you see, the animatronic stuff, it's the dwarves up at the top of the cliff and the witch is there and she falls. You hear it, and then the doors open and you see just this picture of Snow White and the prince. There's no
Everything's great.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted that last
Kind of a
little
cop out.
what last moment did you want?
It's the last one.
prying
The
a
door.
rock
Yeah,
to
she's
kill
trying
her
to
with
pry
a giant
the witch is trying
boulder.
to do the boulder, and then there's this flash,
Lightning.
and you see a silhouette of her falling, and you hear her go and so it's like, oh my gosh, and then the doors open, and then it's like the ride is over, but you see a painting of Snow White and the Prince, and I'm like, no, I kind of want to see the animatronic figure of them waving.
No, that's fine. It's like, and they get married and they're in love and whatever.
Well,
Little people kill old ladies. Okay, that's really the theme of this ride.
No, but that's not what happens, though. They go to chase her. It's funny because they all have clubs, except for Dopey. They all
Pickaxes.
Yeah, and pickaxes. Look, if they were really, what if they came and met the witch in a corner? What would they have done? Would they have taken the pickaxe to her?
Torn her to pieces, of course.
Exactly, but instead,
Dopey would have been the one that would start it all.
They would have eaten the apples.
no, he doesn't
always
laugh
the
like
quiet
that.
one.
Because he's very quiet. But it's the witch causes her own demise, basically.
And originally, Snow White did not have Snow White in the ride. The idea was that you were Snow White, and it's still sort of like that.
Yeah.
But they've added her.
Is that what you take from that ride?
For me, I'm Snow White. But now they've added her at the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Because people want to see Snow White, I guess.
Now, not to get back to the Haunted Mansion, but it's still, I'm obsessed with it.
I can't stand the Haunted Mansion.
No. I know you love it, but is there any, I've gone through it, a bunch of times, and it's always in the dark, but I've heard that there's certain special little secrets about the Haunted Mansion that the general public doesn't know about.
Like hidden Mickeys and such?
Hidden Mickeys, and there's also a place in the tower or something where employees go, or
in the cupola on the But it's there's a room you can go into. I actually went. There was an open house at Disney. This is a thing they did. I have no idea why they did it. They're never going to do it again.
Because of you.
It was just you could just freely walk anywhere in the park you wanted. The rides were all lit.
You're
And
kidding.
That's a
backstage
bad
was
idea.
completely open.
No way.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. It was.
And what did you do? You just walk through there and
Yes, I walked through everything. I got lost, and it's a small world. Because every room in that place looks the same, so I had no idea where I was. But, I walked through the Haunted Mansion, and you'll notice if you go in the attic, when you first enter the attic, if you look to the left, there's a big rolling door, and that's basically where they could service the dune buggies.
Okay.
And it's like an access, and it's the workshop for
Right.
fixing stuff. But also in the Haunted Mansion, there's a hidden cemetery, a hidden pet cemetery. There's the regular pet cemetery.
Yeah.
There used to be part of the line was the pet cemetery.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
They
I've seen-
rerouted the line.
Uh-huh.
It used to go through, and you'd go past the mausoleums, and
Yeah.
then there were
Right.
tombstones in the ground and graves.
Yeah.
That all got rerouted just to make it more efficient, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have that new pet cemetery
Mm-hmm.
that's along the line, but the old one is if you go around the right side of the mansion,
Right.
where the wheelchair, the handicapped access is. If you go straight down, it's right there. It's basically behind the exit.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
And yeah, you just have to ask.
Yeah.
You say, I'd like to see the pet cemetery.
Now, I've heard a rumor that like most people who are huge fans of the Haunted Mansion think like, when we see it, the general public, it's really dark, it's black, and they have all these lights, and you see cobwebs, so you think, it must be really dusty and dirty inside. Okay, and so I have heard stories of people who were huge fans of the ride, who had passed away, had requested to be cremated, and had their
The place is full of ashes.
of people who had passed
People
away.
dump ashes there all
It-
the
it's
time.
That is
specific-
genius.
Specifically at the Haunted
Yes,
Mansion. Now, what
yes.
I've heard is
People's ashes, pets' ashes,
Yeah.
children's ashes.
Do they have to get permission?
no, they,
They don't
do
get
it without.
permission.
They don't get permission.
They just do it.
No, yeah,
know.
you don't understand.
It's a very controlled environment.
But see, the funny thing is, if you go on the ride,
You gotta get a special pass for
you
that.
think the whole place is dirty and dusty. So you're on the ride, you got your little container of your loved one, the ride's going along, and you go, okay, I'm just going to dump this. All right, Grandpa, there you go.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, there's all these work lights or something that they'll turn on, and they'll see all this dirt, all this stuff that was. I guess this is something that's common. Or,
Yeah, it's very common.
And so what
it's very
happened?
hard to trace because people, they have cameras in there, but you don't really see
But
it.
isn't it kind of obvious? I mean, wouldn't it be sort of more interesting to have your ashes in Space Mountain? It's like, wee!
I'm sure people have ashes on
I guess.
Great, I get a mouthful of
But-
Grandpa's ashes.
Is that what that was?
But James, if you think about it, the Haunted Mansion says what we have 999 ghosts or something
Yes.
like that.
There's always
and
room for
there's
1,000.
always room for
Now
another
it's
one.
really haunted.
Well, I mean, I hear that they clean up. I guess when they turn on the lights at the end of the day, and you see Grandpa line, or
Yeah.
they'll see like
No, I'm sure there's far more than 900.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
no
so I've heard-
way you're going to get every ash. It's not like
Probably.
Gattaca,
Right,
where
So in a way, when you do go on the Haunted Mansion, there probably are real ghosts there.
wow, I want to do that.
I heard
I'm
Bruce
gonna-
Campbell actually went on the ride once.
Ooh.
So there's literally ash going through.
Oh, nice.
Oh man!
Wow. So they were. Wow. There's your fan fiction right there. Ash versus the ghosts of the Haunted Mansion.
Now, Haunted Mansion it's like to me one of the greatest current haunted or dark rides that I've ever been on. But there was a ride that I went on when I was a kid. It's no longer around, but it's
Playland?
No. It was actually in San Jose, California. There's a place called Frontier Village. So it was like a frontier place. And they
Okay.
had a ride called the Lost Dutchman's Mine Ride. And I have to tell you, when I went on this ride as a kid, I mean, I went through with my older brothers with my eyes closed. The first
yeah.
thing you hear is it was a square mine car, and it would curve and turn around, and it was pitch black in there, and they had these creepy things that would light up as you went by them, and the first thing you would hear is this voice that goes, "Go back, this is your last warning." And it freaked me out as a kid. And
Which now happens in every southern town.
Exactly. Well, anyway, so there have these creepy things inside the mine,
Yeah.
and you would go into this place where there's all kinds of black light stuff with stalactites and stalagmites, and then you'd come to this whirlpool, and there was a guy in the whirlpool, and I remember it so distinctly. It was like you'd hear him going around in the whirlpool. It goes, ah!
Is it possible that there was, because in Playland in San Francisco, very near like Sutro Baths and all that, there was this, there was this little amusement park called Playland, and they had a haunted house ride.
Okay.
And I think they also had a crazy miner thing too. I wonder if it was.
I wonder if it was made by the same
A
guys.
lot of them have similar props, and they're called wild mouse rides, I think, or pretzel rides, and it's basically a track that goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and bashes through the doors and scares the crap out of you. And people would share trade secrets, much like people when they do haunts now.
Right.
They build stuff for each other.
But those things are so. I mean, they're obviously now with everything that we can do, they're so antiquated. But God, if I would love to, if I had a crazy amount of money and my own mansion, like to get into my house. You had to get in a little car and go through.
That'd be so
go
great.
through a little haunted house maze and have all that original stuff too.
It's funny you should say antiquated because although the Frontier Village is not around anymore, in Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk they do have like a haunted castle, and it's still the same as I remember when I was a kid. But it's old. It's nothing like the haunted mansion at Disneyland.
I believe the one in Santa Cruz though is where they found an actual mummified guy. He was an old cowboy.
Like one of the props?
One of the props was actually a human, mummified human.
Wow.
But they didn't know it, and it was a skeleton. Everyone thought it was a prop.
Yeah,
and as the years progressed, they put in some black light and they actually painted the skeleton. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
You know, when I was growing up, I grew up in New England, and we didn't really have any impressive dark rides. We had carnivals that set up temporarily in like parking lots. Mm-hmm. And I would always go to the dark ride as a kid, but they were pretty lame. I mean, it was, you'd take this little creaky car, they'd put a rubber mask on a stick and put a light on it.
I've been to ones like that. Yeah, those are terrible.
On a stick.
And then, the big thrill is supposed to be a strobe.
Right.
Or slamming through a
or a sharp
door.
turn.
Yeah. a guy like almost pushes you into traffic.
Yeah. So I don't really
Someone bumps into you without saying "excuse me."
Well, when you went on those, did they use like classic like Universal monster masks, or was it just like really?
Sometimes they ran the gamut. This was Carney City. It was lowbrow.
Okay, so we've all seen the movie, the Tobe Hooper movie, The Funhouse.
Oh yeah,
right?
Pay to get in, pray to get out.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
That was the tagline.
Yeah. Now, this was supposedly a traveling carnival that comes to town, and that ride is like the greatest dark ride ever. Like how they broke this thing down in 24 hours and moved on to the next town is amazing. But like I would love what they do with Universal Studios on Halloween, where they do the mazes and everything. I would love an actual theme park that's a horror themed theme park
year round.
Yeah, and it has
year round.
Yeah,
Wow.
year round, and it has aliens. It has.
I believe Texas has a couple of places like that. They might
Really?
just be haunted houses, and there's actually one here called Sinister Point.
Where's that?
Runs for most of the year. I'm not sure exactly. It's Irvine. I'm not sure what town it's in, but it's called Sinister Point, and they do for a large part of the year have. And they also have a haunted lounge. It's sort of haunted mansion themed bar. That's very cool. Yeah.
Well, much like Monster Party,
Yeah.
that's what those rides need. Cocktails. But now, are there any ones that you mentioned the really crappy one that you went to?
Yeah.
I love hearing about stuff like that. Like, do you have ones that you went to that you thought was going to be so good?
Well, the one in Santa Cruz. Oh, you know what? In Ed Wood, Ed Wood,
yeah,
he goes in Johnny Depp. He
That's
goes
right,
into
yes.
a spook house, and I was expecting something that was kind of bad, but actually it was really
Yeah, it's
cool.
very cool. Yeah.
And watching it, it made me think, gosh, what a great spook house, man! I would have loved to have gone because the one in Santa Cruz that had the skeleton there. I mean it had kind of this flashing light, and it was almost like a carny ride, James, but it was like a permanent fixture. And I know that they've tried to update it over the years, but it's just it can't compare to something like that.
Yeah, it's still not that impressive.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when I was a kid, there was one out here at Beverly Park, and I was terrified of it, and I would close my eyes the whole time. If I went on it, I would beg to go on it, and then I'd finally go on it, close my eyes, and cry.
How old were you?
6 or 7.
Yeah.
And eventually I went on it, and I was like, what the hell was I so scared of? It was so stupid. There's just loud noises, basically, and something
it
moved
was a lot
little
like
bit.
sex for me.
Yeah.
But talking about dark rides in movies, we should maybe
Speaking of
mention
dark rides.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where that boat ride that goes through.
Well,
Where's that? that ride. Right? That should be a
You
ride.
bring up a very interesting.
Wonka should be a theme park.
Absolutely.
You know, that
there you
could
go.
be a theme
Definitely.
park.
It should.
But that, if the more I think about it, that is a twisted ride.
Yeah, drowning
Oh my
in chocolate
God.
would be like
No,
an E-ticket.
no, but when the isn't there
Chop a
there's
chicken's head
shots
off.
of like a centipede going
Yeah.
over a guy's face, and I mean, as a kid, I remember watching this part, and I remember thinking, "Is this really a G film?" Because
Yeah, what the
it
hell?
freaked me out.
Why am I suddenly watching the acid scene from Midnight Cowboy?
You went for a G to an X.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Isn't there also a dark ride in Clifford with Martin Short
Yeah.
and
Charles
Grodin?
Yeah.
Where
There
Martin
is-
Short plays a boy. He plays a young boy.
I think we're the two people in the world who've seen Clifford.
Well, if you
I
like
can't-
dark ride movies, fast forward to the end
You know,
of Clifford.
Get the Criterion, really, because you're just shortchanging yourself if you don't. But so I want you guys to answer a question for me because I've always been fascinated by this. I've never gotten it. Maybe you, through your knowledge, know about this. Is that now in like every cartoon or movie they would show the tunnel of love, and they'd be going through in a boat, and then all of a sudden there'd be this hell scene.
Right
Now, do you know what were there tunnel of loves that had, and why was there hell? I mean, I have my own personal reasons. I've been in some shitty relationships, but
No, I think conventional wisdom would say that it's like taking a date to a horror movie where she'll grab onto your
Exactly.
arm.
Is that
because
the
it's so
idea?
scary.
Exactly,
I think
yeah.
so. Wow. Sort of forces the,
And we've all been on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride,
Oh yeah,
which
that's
ends
right.
in hell.
That's right.
You drive like a maniac and get killed and go to hell. The end.
Yeah, my kid hates that ride. By the way, we've only been on
love
once,
it.
and she doesn't want to go on it again. That is
because of the hell part, or just because it's
I
scary?
don't. There's something about it that she likes Snow White, but
it's
just,
sort of,
we
it's sort
went
of a
on
miracle
wild-
that Mr. Toad's Wild Ride still exists.
Yes.
Because in this age of Pixar, I don't think there's a kid alive who's seen Mr. Toad.
Right.
and
But
they've
it's such
tried
a
to
crazy, weird ride that I think
they've tried to get rid of it, right?
It's gone from Florida.
But it's still here. It's still in
Yeah.
Anaheim.
Speaking of Florida and dark rides, probably one of my favorite, I guess you would call it a dark ride of all time, aside from the Haunted Mansion,
Sure.
is the Harry Potter ride at
Oh,
Universal.
see, this
is
is new.
so good.
That's new.
And so creepy and scary. And it's part like simulator kind of ride mixed with animatronics.
There's a name for it. It's a something arm ride.
What do they call
It's
it?
a new type of ride. It's like a Q arm or a something
means
arm.
both, or-
and it's basically a seat like a doom buggy on the end of an arm,
And it just
swings
moves you around.
Yes,
Yes.
Wow.
in front of screens, and it
Wow.
Very, very effective. And like when you're flying around, there's a part where you're flying and trying to get away from a dragon, but
Yeah.
then inside you see the dragon and the effects of him trying to burn the place down. There's also these wraiths, I guess, that are these ghost-like creatures. I'm not a big Harry Potter guy, but
it's for children.
it's for, yeah. But there's these ghost-like beings that are floating around trying to get you, and there's
The
giants.
Dementors, I think they're
Yeah,
called.
okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
They're
Muggles?
they're
Let's
actually,
call
no,
them that.
they're horrifying though.
Yeah, they're scary, and then
they're
there's
very scary.
giant spiders that come after you,
Yeah.
and it's so great. And that's coming soon here,
here,
right?
yeah.
To Universal Studios
Yeah.
here in
Strongly recommend anyone who loves this kind of stuff to go check that out because it's a good time.
I did love the Mummy ride at Universal.
Yeah,
The
and that's
Mummy
done.
ride.
It's such a
Yeah.
weird ride because it starts out as a dark ride.
Yeah.
You're going through a mummy temple and there's mummies and and you're getting yelled at and there's bugs and then two mummies come down and all of a sudden you're on a roller coaster in the dark that goes all over the place and then stops and goes backwards. And it's just a crazy ride. I think it's gone now. I think they pulled it for Harry Potter.
Well,
And Larry, you've never been on this thing?
no,
James?
I actually,
motion sick.
I actually went on the Mummy ride before it was a ride. It was the a walkthrough thing.
Oh, no.
And they actually had
It's called a museum.
well.
It was not Universal Studios.
All they did
It
was
at
just-
Universal Studios, and
They just turned off all the flames and backdraft.
And they actually had little people dressed up as mummies. that
No.
would pop out.
No.
I kid you
Well,
not. The reason why is I was with my wife and we were walking through it. and a little person came out. It was all dressed as the mummy, and my wife turned around and pointed her finger and said, "Do not." Okay, no, none of that. And the little person just slowly backed away. So, yeah, believe it or not.
Universal does have the walkthrough Universal
Castle-
Monsters.
yeah.
Castle
Frankenstein
Castle
or something. I
Frankenstein.
don't know.
Yeah.
Or Van Helsing's. Maybe it's I don't know.
something
Whatever.
like that. And
But it's a year-round haunt,
it
basically.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
It is, but they all the really cool stuff they have for only for the Halloween haunts, right? Like all the
It's
extra
very similar to
scares.
the way it is at Halloween Haunt.
Really?
That particular one maze.
Because I do love all the crazy werewolf stuff where the werewolf
that's all
comes out at you at the end. And,
See, I have a problem with those, and they've become really, really popular. But my thing is, it's unnerving for me, but for the wrong reasons. Because for everybody who jumps out at me or is waiting to jump out at me, I can't just be like scared for the fun of it. I'm thinking, look, that's an unemployed actor. You know, I'm thinking, like,
So you feel bad?
Every one of these people has a story. I want to like, oh, did you go to film school too? This is the best you could do. I'm sorry, man.
Really?
I feel for you.
can't-
So it's depressing
Where's your
rather than
suspicion
scary.
of
It really is.
disbelief, buddy? You can't just let go?
I can't. There's a person there.
All right.
So if they scare you and then go, "Hey, I'm on a veil for a commercial," so does that make you feel any better?
Here's my card.
I think that the first thing that they're probably thinking is, I hope this guy's not a psycho who's going to hit me. Because they've got signs now that say, you know, and the
Oh, they get hit all the time.
Yeah.
People, mostly girls, just that's the
strike
reaction.
out,
It's like being
sure.
tickled. You can't help but lash out.
I'm really not sure about that whole thing. You know, walking through and having people jump at you. I don't know about that.
Give you something.
I enjoy it.
Okay,
I love it.
But
It doesn't scare me
me
anymore,
too.
but I love it.
I have to. I can't really say that I don't like it as much as James, but I actually do prefer being in the little car, going on the track, and just having it all happen all around me, and not have have to deal with a real person like jumping in front of me.
For me, it's a challenge to scare me anymore. So if they manage to, I'm very impressed.
Yeah,
And
like,
it has to be that.
When they
Otherwise,
do
I'm
something like I'm always a sucker for this, and I think it's a really clever gag. Is when there's a room that's sort of maybe like done black light, speckled paint on the wall, and there's someone who is in an outfit that's the same speckled paint, and they just sit in the corner, and as you're walking by, all of a sudden they go, "Rah!" You know, and like that gets me every time.
Really?
And
Because after a while, you get conditioned to expect it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as soon as you see the black light and the speckles,
Yes.
like, okay, where's the
You
guy?
know it's coming.
Yeah. But I do enjoy it, and like we always go, Ken and I and others, we go to this the corn maze. There's this corn maze.
Corn maze.
Yeah.
A maze made of corn.
Yeah.
Yes.
A maze made of maize. Really.
Yes, but it's not really a dark ride. But go ahead.
No, it
Go
is
ahead.
a dark ride.
It's in
How
the
so?
dark.
It's in the dark.
Okay, but
It's
are
a
you
maze.
walking?
You
Yes.
are walking. It's in
not
the
a
dark,
ride.
and you have all these people that are dressed in, monster costumes, and they're waiting in the corn. And that is a very effective horror ride, to have just all of a sudden someone reach out of a stalk of corn. So it has a little element of Planet of the Apes, like, oh,
So it's a stalker.
Or children in the corn.
So this is not. You're not on like a
no,
cart
you're,
or
walking.
a
You're
cart.
walking.
You're physically
You're walking through
a
an
maze.
actual cornfield.
Yeah, see, I mean that's cool.
It's not- it's not a dark
like
ride, I
to me.
agree.
It's a dark ride's like whether the Indiana Jones ride at
Sure.
Disneyland, or Snow White's Scary Adventure, Peter Pan, or even Space Mountain, which we haven't. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I guess Space Mountain is considered a dark.
it's a dark ride roller coaster.
Dark ride roller coaster.
Space Mountain's one of the scariest rides I think you can go on, because you don't know if a girder has slipped and has fallen
Right.
and you're going to get
Well, but you
decapitated.
could-
I mean,
Yeah, but now that OSHA's gone in there and wave their regulation batons around.
but there's
it's-
that what if,
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah, but you
Dark,
you could say that about any roller coaster, right? All it takes is a girder to.
But you see,
Well, yeah, but
you can see where you're
sort of
going.
see it for a
You can-
split second.
yeah.
You can see it before your head flies off.
That
right?
is the thing about Space
that's
Mountain.
better?
Well, it's like I found that when I've sat in the back, I can't. It's kind of hard to see where you're going. And I always feel like if I'm on the Matterhorn, which isn't a dark ride, really.
It's an uncomfortable ride.
Yeah. But it's like I can see where the track is going. On Space Mountain, I cannot. So it's like I'm kind of leaning. I'm like sitting in my seat, and I'm kind of moving forward a little bit. Then I was I'm jolted to the side or the other side or something like that.
now you don't want to
That's
be in the back. You're being whipped around. I always like to be in that.
You like to be in the
car.
front?
I like to be in that front car.
Yeah.
The most action in the back.
Yeah, I
The
don't.
most
I don't,
whip around action.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Although
part.
you said Matterhorn. That kind
Yeah.
of is half a dark ride.
half a
Actually,
dark ride, yes.
And
And
you're
there's
right.
monsters.
There is a great abominable snow monster.
Spoiler.
And there's also another great ride in Disney Animal Kingdom in Orlando.
Yeah, the Himalaya.
This has this Himalayan Yeti that's huge and attacks you at the end.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. Fine. I was going to go.
Yeah, because you'll never get wind of that going into the park. Yeah, because they really downplay that in the park.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's really an amazing animatronic.
It's
too, that
really
thing.
cool.
Yeah, it's
It's huge.
huge thing.
And the way they do it too, they do this thing where like you're traveling along. It's kind of like the Matterhorn, but then all of a sudden you see the tracks have been destroyed.
Ooh.
So,
Whoa.
Yeah. And so now you've got to kind of back up, and then that's when the Yeti comes at you.
Wow.
So it sounds a lot like the Indiana Jones effect at the very end with the
Yeah.
boulder. When you,
Or the Big Thunder Mountain at the end, too. But I don't know what it is now. They've changed it.
See, that's just it. They're
But
changing
Big
it.
Thunder Mountain, the track really is out.
But Thunder Mountain's not really a dark ride though.
there are dark inside
Elements.
elements.
Elements, yes.
It used to be the thing where you're going up and
Yeah, yeah.
then the track sort of breaks and the rocks are coming down.
Right.
So it's sort of a dark. I would even say the train through Nature's Wonderland and Dinosaur.
Yes.
You know, that's one of my favorite
Me
parts.
too.
And that
Me
dinosaur,
too.
Oh my god, we
I
go
love
on
that.
that train.
And those things are
And
ancient.
they're ancient.
like 64 or
yeah,
something.
And they
you
look great still.
Yeah.
You have to
fantastic.
go through Grand Canyon first with the stuffed animals that aren't moving, and then it starts. It has music from Mysterious Island, and it's
right.
dun, dun, dun. Let's imagine the Grand Canyon millions of years ago, and I wish that train would just stop so I
it's
could just
super cool.
watch the Brontosaurus chew that piece of grass. I mean, I want one of those in my yard.
No, that I really do want in my home. Like I would.
I love it.
How great would that be?
I can't go on that enough.
That ride belongs to a category I call relief ride or foot relief ride. When,
Sure.
when your feet are throbbing, you've been walking
Yes.
for hours and standing online for 45 minutes for Peter Pan. I just want something I don't have to wait online and I can sit for at least 20 minutes.
And look at stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wedway People Mover used to be great for that.
Sure.
And some rides, Small World is great for that.
Yeah. Pirates even.
Pirates
you can
is
take a
great.
nap on Pirates. It's like
And-
15 minutes long.
You know, that's another thing about the golden age of Disney rides, like Haunted Mansion, like Pirates. They were kind of long. You really felt like you got the most for your wait.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel the same about the newer rides. And
Well, I guess would
Little Mermaid is kinda
Nemo
slow.
Actually,
would
Little
Nemo
Mermaid's pretty good.
Would
It's a dark
Finding
ride.
Nemo be considered a dark ride?
But you see, Finding Nemo is now that used to be the
20,000
20,000
Leagues,
Leagues,
yeah.
which I loved.
It was great.
And
This is terrible.
now it's
The
not.
Nemo
It's
thing
always-
is
I was
horrible.
always bummed. I was always bummed that they didn't make the Disneyland here in Anaheim the submarines look like the Nautilus. I was always
Right, yeah, me
disappointed
too.
about
they,
that.
They started out that way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They're still that way in Florida, I believe.
That's I understand.
Yeah.
So, Florida, but not here in
But
Anaheim.
not here.
And let's face it. Look, Finding Nemo is a great movie. Okay, I know you have a dislike for it, but it's
I don't.
But I understand they're
Just a ride.
Yeah, they're just trying to update it, and they're going to make because they put a bunch of Finding
But it's
Nemo
just
stuff.
video
and
screens.
Yeah, it's just
I
video
know,
screens.
I know,
That's my
know,
problem.
yeah.
It's
So you want to
boring.
see the little
Considering
animated
they
fish.
replaced all those animatronics
Yeah.
with a bunch of video screens.
I mean, what I
Right.
came away from that ride with was, wow, they can do video projection underwater. That's cool, but that's like a technical thing.
Yeah,
So
and
what?
it's all. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, not a fan.
I miss
not
the
a
old
fan at
sea
all.
serpent.
Me too.
The crossed eyes.
I love the sea serpent.
Speaking
Yes.
of pirates,
Yeah.
my parents and I were attacked by someone on Pirates of the Caribbean.
What?
Wow.
By pirates.
What-
Somali?
No, Matt. Really, on the ride,
So we're eating at the
Blue Bayou.
Blue Bayou, which is already a horrible experience. Okay,
I like it.
Come on,
Oh
it's
my
neat.
I
God,
like
it's
it.
terrible.
No,
Like the
no.
food's not great. It's just super expensive, but
It-
it's a cool place to
it-
sit.
it's
it
a
is-
cool place
the
to sit.
atmosphere.
Like, go have coffee, but
Yeah.
don't order anything
but I don't
off
think
that
you
menu.
can. I think you have to.
you have
order
to.
up.
You have to order.
I disagree. It is expensive, but I found my meal to be very tasty.
It's very
and,
cool.
And also
you
for
eat at
$6
Hooters.
$6
You eat at
drink.
Hooters.
Did you get the $6 drink with the little Tinkerbell that lights up?
Yes, but also refills on the mint juleps.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right?
But all
That
these
blew
things
my
you're saying
mind.
are
Yes.
great.
Okay.
food-wise, not so much. But anyway, and then you're also attacked. So we're sitting at a table.
You're attacked.
I'm attacked. Okay. They see me coming in. They know that I'm asking for it.
So what happens?
Simply by what I'm wearing.
So
Did that table have a
eating
bat on it?
No.
Nice.
So you're
Nice,
eating.
James.
You're eating at the restaurant.
Eating at the
Okay.
restaurant. All of a sudden, a quarter whizzes by my face and hits my dad's plate and goes "Ba-bing!" and ricochets off some salt shaker.
I thought it didn't hit anybody.
Huh? Oh no!
I just thought it just went off into the thing.
No, it hit the table.
Oh, man.
It
I
hit
should
our
stop doing
table.
that.
Ba-ding! So I get up and tell someone. I go, I think someone just hurled a projectile at our table from one of the boats. Like, oh, okay. And this is how good Disney is that we are leaving. We were just paying our check. As we're leaving, we see that they caught those guys.
Oh yeah, they're on it.
Wow.
Yeah. They're on that.
I mean,
stuff.
they are really on it.
Yet they still can't stop the ashes from being distributed all over the place.
Yeah. But that's really
That's a
kind of a
subtle thing,
victimless kind of yeah. But so I can't go to that restaurant anymore
Okay,
for obvious reasons.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
because it's coming from any direction.
You know, it's fun if you're on the ride itself, you scream for a roll. Sometimes people throw you a roll from the restaurant.
Oh,
Throw me a roll.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
see the hidden tricks of Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean.
Oh my gosh.
Free bread.
Well, do you think they would
Aside
really
from the
eat,
free bread in California.
You think they would really eat the bread that they?
Yeah,
someone
you wouldn't
threw?
eat that
Sure.
roll, would you?
If somebody threw me a roll, sure.
Wow.
Ken, maybe,
I don't even know you.
maybe you can explain this, Ken. What
Yeah.
was the thinking behind glorifying piracy when Disney created this ride?
You mean rape and pillaging and
treacherous murderers.
Well, it's been toned way down from what it was. Because originally everything was about rape and chasing women and
Yeah.
I know
it
it was big in the news that they changed some
Yeah.
of that.
New Orleans Square used to be called Rapeland. Yeah.
No.
I think in New Orleans it still is.
Let's be factual here.
especially around Mardi Gras.
That is not true. But,
Yes, we're joking.
But it really was a little bit more racy.
It was well. Especially there's this. Well, there's still the auction. They're selling women.
They're selling women. Yeah.
They're selling women and making fun of how fat one of them is. It's
Yeah.
It's
Were people so desperate for entertainment in the 50s that this was considered?
wasn't-
And I do
It
remember
wasn't that weird then. I
There
guess.
was a pirate that's supposed to be chasing a woman, and they were
Yeah.
going around in a circle. And I think they switched them. And doesn't it?
They had the women chasing the men, and it's
with
about
a rolling
food now.
pin, and
Or
she's got
yeah,
a rolling
weapon or
pin
food.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I love the fact that they get rid of that, but they keep the woman slave option.
Exactly. That's fine.
Yeah, pick your battles. Yeah.
I never really thought about
There
that.
was also
They're
used to
dunking
be,
a guy to death, and it's like
there's the one pirate where everyone's chasing everybody. There's
Yeah.
one pirate sitting in the front,
Yeah.
and he was now he's holding a map or something that Johnny Depp
Yes,
animatronic
yes,
is looking for. It used
Captain
to
Jack
be-
Sparrow,
He
yes.
used to be holding a nightie, and there was a naked woman in the barrel with a
That's
candle.
right.
that would come
Oh
out.
my gosh, I forgot about that.
So they
because I
changed
have a
that,
toy
too.
of that they
Yeah.
made the toy after they got rid of it in the ride.
I remember as
Isn't that weird?
No, I remember as a kid there was a record album and it had that picture, and I
Yeah.
totally forgot that's
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
Well, ever since
Mark
the
Davis drawing.
I used to just circle that and look at it with a flashlight. It helped me get through some rough
in
times.
light of the whole Johnny Depp and the popularity of Pirates of the Caribbean, they put that character,
Which I hate.
Do you?
I hate it because
It's
every
incongruous.
character in there is a cartoony
Yes.
person.
Yes.
Except for Johnny Depp, who looks like Johnny Depp.
Aren't most of those figures based on the people who created that ride?
Technically, yeah, but
Facially?
they're still very exaggerated, and they're very cartoony, charactery people.
Yeah.
And then Johnny Depp is super hyper realistic.
Yeah, I agree. And then that last part where he has all his riches.
Yes, yes, at the end.
looks like they just dropped that set. I mean, I know they did,
Yes.
but it just doesn't fit at all. It seems real clunky.
You know what's funny is here you have this ride. There's a ride that they create, and then they make this movie franchise based on the ride.
Right.
And I guess however you feel about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, they were hugely successful because they made a bunch of
I
them.
enjoy it. I enjoy it.
However,
I like the first one.
However, going back to one of my favorite rides, Haunted Mansion, they made a movie of that.
Barely. They barely made it.
Oh man! And I was so excited for this.
Were you really?
I was. Matt. I was so
too.
excited.
I wanted to see a Haunted Mansion movie.
And
well, Del Toro is still supposed to do it again.
well, okay. So my understanding is because of the popularity of pirates, like, okay, well, we've got a great hot property in this haunted mansion. Let's throw this movie together. Let's put in some crazy, funny comedian. So they bring in Eddie Murphy, and they it has elements of the haunted mansion in it. But I did hear the story about Del Toro doing Haunted Mansion, but I don't know what happened.
And thankfully, he loves the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, but what happened?
What's the update of that?
It's he's so busy that it's like just one of many projects that are sort of floundering with him.
So Haunted Mansion, though, with Eddie Murphy, that was made moderately successful. Not enough to make others, but still Del Toro has this.
They still want to do it.
Really?
Because of the success of Pirates, they figure that if they do it right, it can be successful.
See, I think there's a blockbuster in the Enchanted Tiki Room. I think someone put Johnny Depp in that, and it's Gore Verbinski in the background.
It's called Rio.
But that's not a dark ride, though.
I've been pitching.
It's a dark
I've been
theater.
pitching the Carousel movie forever.
I will say
Cinderella in it.
one of the darkest rides, even though it's not a ride through, it's a show, is the Bugs Life show in California.
No.
California Adventure.
Where halfway through the show,
Yeah.
parents carry their children out screaming and crying every time.
Why is that?
Because black widows drop from the ceiling and all this poisonous gas is.
This is a
being
3D movie, right?
It's a 3D movie and animatronic
Like 4D,
show. And
4D.
like Hopper comes out. Kevin Spacey comes in.
And do they do the thing like with Shrek, like the Shrek thing where they have like water hits you?
Yes.
So water
Yeah,
hits
like
you.
that,
There's like something hits your butt. Like
Okay.
little bumps come under your butt. But it's so scary when that happens. And Hopper is such a mean, aggressive
Yes.
character
Yeah.
that it scares the shit out of kids, and they have to carry them out every time.
Wow.
I go just to watch that happen.
Wow.
Yeah, there's your horror. Speaking of California Adventure, James, you've had a experience there that was less than pleasant.
Like I was saying before, in the Magic Kingdom, the older rides, you really feel like you got your money's worth because they're long. You can relax. Just when you think it might be over, it's still got another, 10 minutes to go. It's great. The Cars ride at California Adventure, very long line, and a really neat ride when it zips along. But all the animatronic stuff, and it stops at these gas stations and stuff, you don't need that. You've got a great ride without that. But
It's scary enough as it is.
But then it's just like a roller coaster. If you don't have animatronics.
But it's a different roller coaster than I've ever taken because it's connected.
Sure.
It's subterranean. You're on a thing that takes you around these hills, and it's really neat.
Yeah, it is actually a carbon copy of the GM ride in Epcot. But they just changed the inside part.
Remind me what that one is.
Test track. It's like the GM test track. And you're going through there's like
they made it for
impact
cars.
crash and weather testing and all this stuff.
I know,
and then you race at the end.
But for the wait, I was really disappointed. I'm like, this is not like the old Disney.
I've
where
never
you-
had to wait that long. Maybe that's why I don't mind it.
Why is it that you don't?
Because I go in single rider. I go with my girlfriend, and she goes in one car. I go in another. one.
Most people that go with their kids or something.
Yeah,
they're
I
staying in
understand,
that
I
long
understand.
line. I mean, it's a very long line. I've heard it's like 2 hours. It's not.
It can't. Yeah,
dark.
it's a
not
very
a dark
long ride.
though.
When you
It
walk
is.
in,
The inside
Is
part
it?
is a dark.
Some of it.
It is a dark ride.
Okay.
It's
when
all
you-
black light and.
Okay.
You ever walk into Disneyland and they ask if you want to take a survey, and then they'll email you the survey?
Yes.
Well, I said yes.
That was a mistake.
Well, no, I think it was a mistake on their part. Because some of the stuff that I handed them, I think they're frankly probably still laughing about it. Because not only Cars, but I critiqued the Muppets 3D because it didn't have the charm. It didn't have the
I
humor.
like Muppets 3D too. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Really?
Yeah, I love that.
Fight, fight,
Sweetums
fight.
comes out. They have a full size Sweetums. The animatronics I think are great.
Yeah, but the script isn't there.
Yeah. I was all right.
For all
I was
the-
all right with it.
Now I'm offended because
the only thing
I did punch up on that. So
the
really
thing I don't
hurts.
like in that is the 3D character that's supposed to be annoying, but it's really fucking annoying. It's annoying.
I don't know.
But other than that, I like it already.
Well, in Orlando, and I believe it's Epcot, because we did 4 parks in 2 days. It was ridiculous, but I think it's Epcot. It's where they do the it's a dinosaur ride with Ellen DeGeneres.
Yes.
Is that Epcot?
Well, there's a couple
energy,
dinosaur
wasn't
rides.
it the energy thing? There
Yeah,
was
there's
that,
energy in
Yes.
Epcot, and
Yeah.
there's also the dinosaur ride in Animal Kingdom.
Well, this was definitely
the
with
Ellen DeGeneres
it was-
one is-
and
yeah.
and to this day, we recently went, and Ellen DeGeneres takes you through this whole. You go back in time, and you see all the dinosaurs and everything, and it's like shot. It was during the time when she had her show, like the original Ellen show with
Yes.
Dave Higgins.
Yeah.
So weird.
And
It's so weird that
The
there's
dark
an
ride
Ellen.
part of it,
Yeah.
the dinosaurs and all
Yeah.
that stuff, amazing.
It's so awesome. And I went on it before Ellen was involved.
Yeah, wow.
I went on it back in the day, and it was. First of all, I was just impressed that you're sitting in an audience watching a movie,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden the audience splits off into 3 cars,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
goes under the screen,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what's happening?
That's what I went on.
It was
Yeah.
amazing, and you go, it's basically riding through the primeval world part of the train in
Yeah.
Disneyland, but much more impressive,
Yeah.
and it was so cool. And I don't know why they had to stick Ellen in there, like making jokes.
Well, Ellen is
I blame
she's-
Michael Eisner again.
Well, she's still very funny. She's very popular.
Sure, I
and,
enjoy Ellen.
and I'm sure at the time, maybe
Was
that
she
seemed
that
like
popular then?
I think so, Matt.
To
I think so.
incorporate her in a ride?
But that was a time where they were incorporating celebrities into everything. There.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I
when
remember
they
at the
opened
MGM
Studios. and it was
MGM theme
all
park.
Celebrities.
I remember seeing like Pee Wee Herman and Mel Gibson
Yep.
on the screens while
Steve
you're waiting in line
Martin
for
and
the
Martin
tram.
Shorter.
Yeah.
And the thing. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to, Cody, this may be going out on a limb here, but there was a dark ride at Universal that I really loved in Florida, and I miss it, and that is the King Kong ride, because you actually got to see a giant.
They had it here.
I
too.
missed that
Calm
too.
down.
And I know I hear stuff about the new 3D thing, but there was
I don't
something
like it.
about seeing a real
It was amazing.
physical.
We had it here. It was
Yeah.
with banana breath.
Yeah,
it was,
banana
it was
breath.
the
And I have
it was like
pictures.
a full-size King Kong.
I have pictures of, because when I was a kid growing up and seeing King Kong for the first time on the TV, oh my god, it was so magical. And here I am. I'm going to a place where there's a dark ride, and I'm actually going to come face to face with a real huge giant King Kong.
And you do.
And you do.
It was amazing.
And the way they sort of tie it in with the street and everything crumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all
the
that was
helicopter
very,
crashes
very
and,
effective.
and honestly, I think maybe you see the giant physical the King Kong maybe twice. Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think you're right.
I mean, the physical one,
Yeah.
you know, but still, I was
It's
so
amazing.
excited.
It was
so
really
great.
amazing.
and I
now it's a
mi-
movie.
And you know, I hear great things about it.
No, it's not good.
Terrible.
And
It's a 3D movie.
and
it's
crappy
like a tunnel,
3D.
A tunnel with
And
a
I'm-
3D movie projected on it.
I mean,
it's a case in point as to how actual effects have been replaced by CGI.
Well,
Right.
you know, there are some things that maybe it's I'm too old or something, but there were some great rides at Disney that have been taken out. That might have been do you remember that? Was it a Journey to Inner Space?
Oh, probably one of my favorite dark rides of all time.
No,
I'm
for
so
some-
happy you brought that up.
because
Another great foot relief ride.
Yeah,
by the way.
and maybe I'm just a little older than some of our audience
And what
members.
dune
But
buggies
imagine,
were invented for.
Imagine, if you will, it's just like you get on these little dune buggies, similar to the Haunted Mansion, and you
Yeah.
basically get shrunk, and you go into the body.
Yeah.
And it's like you see little microbes and
Yeah.
stuff, and it was so cool. And then there's this moment
Also
when you're,
narrated by Paul Frees.
that's right, that's right. And there's this
Yeah.
moment when
You go into
you're-
a
you're-
molecule, the atom of a snowflake.
Yes, and then you are on a slide and you're looking up into the microscope and you see this giant eye looking down at you. And Ken, it was a simple ride, but it was
the
a
best.
dark ride and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And because maybe it was so simple, they took it out and put in Captain EO.
I thought it was Star Tours.
Star Tours.
yeah.
Well, first Captain EO, then
Yeah.
Star Tours.
But one of my favorite parts of that ride is when you would get in the car and then you'd go through this shrinker,
Shrinker,
and
yeah.
you'd see on the
Yeah,
other
you see the
side they had a
cars.
little mini syringe, and you'd see these little, sort of doll versions of
I
the
know
car
someone who has
going
one of
through.
those.
I thought it was real. as
Me-
a
oh, me
kid.
too.
Sure,
And I
sure.
told my brother, I said, "Look, let's go off separately, and I'm going to wave to you. Then look for
Yeah.
the person waving." And I remember I was always wondering why isn't anyone waving?
Yeah.
Or anything? And,
Yeah, me too.
and then of course, I was about 5 or 6.
We were idiots.
Yeah,
God, we were stupid.
well, yes, yeah. But it was
But yeah, that's
great
such a great ride.
There's a
sponsored by
full-
Monsanto.
There's a
The
full
last good thing they ever did.
there's a full simulated ride through of that on YouTube, I believe.
No.
Some guy's website where he did it all in CG. But he did all 3D models of the whole ride with the original narration and everything. It's very good.
I have to check that
Yeah,
out.
you can get
because,
that online.
Can I miss that ride? So I've
you
tried to
can
explain
experience
it
it
to
again.
people, and they're all,
Yeah, it was awesome.
And is there
And-
another YouTube video that's all in Super 8 where someone actually sat through the ride?
Sure, they have-
I
that is
know that
absolutely
one.
there.
I know that one. In Orlando, now there's what is the name of the park? The Hollywood one, Hollywood Studios,
Disney Hollywood Studios. It was
Disney-
Disney MGM.
Disney MGM, but I
Okay.
think now it's Hollywood or something. I don't know.
and so they have this one ride where it's all great moments in cinema.
In Hollywood history.
In
yes.
Hollywood history,
Yeah.
right? So
that's a
there's
dark ride.
That's
Yeah.
a dark ride.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
A great gangster scene. Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, which is amazing.
Amazing. All the
Western
munchkins pop
shootout.
up.
Yeah.
The Western shootout, and then they do a scene from Alien.
Which is, I mean, it's a
breathtaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The alien is up above you and
Spoiler alert.
dripping, and it's.
You see him in more than one place, though, right?
You see him twice, and then Ripley is, I think, kind of waving you away,
Huddled
like
against
go
the wall
go
with a gun,
go
yeah.
away. So good.
Reminding me of that, there used to be a ride in Florida, in Tomorrowland, called Alien Encounter, which was pulled because it was too scary.
No.
And it was very similar to the old Mission to Mars / Flight to the Moon.
Yeah.
It's a big round room with seats.
Yeah.
And it's all motion simulated, so you feel like you're blasting off.
Very mild.
Yes. But at some point, an alien escapes, breaks loose, and there's like a flashlight. There's like a catwalk above you, and there's like a guy going, "Hey, what's going on in here?" There's a flashlight,
Yeah.
and then the alien eats him, and you're splattered. You're splattered with blood.
Yes.
Oh, that's
And people are screaming.
Oh man.
Oh, I missed that
Yeah.
ride.
They replaced that with a Stitch ride.
Yeah, that should be a land, right? Man, again, that's the other ride I want to have in my home.
That one.
Oh, man. Well, how do you guys feel about the Indiana Jones ride, by the way? We kind of talked about that. Do you guys like that?
Sure.
Yeah, it's
ride?
fantastic.
Oh,
fun.
great!
I mean,
the first time I went on that,
Yeah.
it was one of the greatest things I've ever experienced ride-wise.
And there's the one effect they used to have there that's not there anymore.
Do tell.
That is it's like rubble falling. So it's actual rocks falling, and what they did was they sort of made muddy water and froze it into ice cubes, and they would just dump the ice as you came by.
No.
And then I guess it stopped working or something because it was right after you go down the steps into the main room.
Yeah.
all it takes is one person to get one little tiny bit of it in their eye.
Lawsuit.
Shut
But
the
it was
whole
very
thing
cool.
down.
Damn you.
Yeah,
But it's a very cool ride.
There's so much great stuff in that, like from the ball rolling to just that cavernous area with the idol.
It's huge.
And so exciting and fun.
I also grew up loving John Williams movie scores, and for a lot of like fast rides or dark rides, I would always picture those rides scored by Williams, like some action theme.
Yeah.
And that ride actually is scored
There
by
you
Williams.
go,
I was like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
perfect.
Now, how does that ride affect you motion sickness wise?
Not bad because it's like herky jerky, but for the most part, it's moving forward. But we were
spinning.
talking earlier about I do get motion sick, and for the motion control rides like Star Tours, and especially like Back to the Future, which Universal used to have, very, very dangerous for me. I'll never get Back to the Future, and even Star Tours. I can't go into Star Tours. Something that mild.
Well, you're not allowed to go into Star Tours
Yeah,
now.
I think you were banned, aren't you?
How many screens have you splattered?
You touched Yoda.
I innocently went into Back to the Future. We're talking like 20 years ago, and right after it started, I thought, okay, this is state of the art, big screen. It's all over you, and then I start feeling this kind of like, oh no, this was a mistake. But you can't escape. You're captive. You can't even scream.
You're stuck.
They think you're having a good time if you scream. So I ducked in the back seat, closed my eyes, and waited for it to be over. And when I walked out of that thing, I was drenched in sweat. A few months later, I read a news story that a kid died on that ride from a brain embolism.
That's crazy.
Well, there is a thing that says, before you go on these rides, that if you have like heart
Sensitivity.
problems or
You never know what's going to hit you.
But I think for you, it's probably the motion on the screen that makes you because the Back to the Future ride didn't move that much.
You know what it is? It's when you're not. It's when it's pretending to move you forward,
Yeah.
but you're not moving forward, and then particularly backward.
throws your
It's
equilibrium.
It's the backward motion that
okay.
drives you crazy.
Yeah.
So Snow White's Scary Adventure is more like your cup of tea.
That's my thing.
But because there's no screen distorting your mind, basically.
And it is a great ride.
And how's Winnie the Pooh work for you? Is that
Winnie the Pooh is okay. And
Another
that's
dark
not
ride.
bad.
That is a
ride,
dark
too.
ride.
A lot of black light neon,
Yeah.
kind of funky. It's an acid trip. Really.
That's right. Winnie the Pooh has a dream.
Yeah.
He has a
Yeah,
dream.
the pink
in
elephants.
there.
The
Yeah,
whole
Oh
thing is the
my
pink
gosh!
elephants.
I just went on that
Yeah, it
too.
goes crazy.
You're right.
Much like Alice. In
I was just
Wonderland.
about to say,
Alice-
another one of my favorites.
Alice in
Another acid
Wonderland.
trip.
And
Well-
another California adventure ride, Monsters Incorporated, which is another one I was sort of disappointed in.
Yeah.
For the wait.
Well,
I have
here's
not
the
been on
thing.
there.
That used to be the Superstar limo ride, which was probably the worst ride ever made.
Oh, well then.
With weird
The
caricatures
Superstar-
of
wait.
Jay Leno and Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg.
Superstar limo
Yes,
ride.
you get in a limo.
horrible.
You're a star, and you're getting in a limo to go to the big premiere. And the Whoopi Goldberg and Jackie Chan and Jay Leno and other people are ushering you through Hollywood.
And they're like cardboard cutouts or
and
something,
it was
aren't they?
horrible.
Who was responsible for that
still
I'm
ride?
guessing
sounds
Michael
better-
Eisner.
It still sounds better than Monsters Inc. Because they're cute animatronics, but
Not better than Monsters Inc. Trust me.
I don't know. For kids, maybe, but
So is that another one you're like, the script is not working?
Yes.
You know,
It's
for
basically the
kids.
story of the
It's
movie.
for kids. You
You know what? You know what? You can go to a lot of the newer rides and say, "Oh, it's for kids," but Magic Kingdom rides, a lot of them, the epic ones like Pirates of the Caribbean, like Haunted Mansion, those are for everybody. Adults can really.
Yeah,
It's not
so
just
what
nostalgia.
about,
unless
like,
a woman
Pinocchio?
gets
How do you feel about
sold
Pinocchio?
in an auction, is that what you need for every ride?
It wouldn't hurt.
I'd love to see the GONIS pass on all these new rides. Why is there a woman being sold underwater during Nemo?
Yeah, cross that off the list. No, that's not going to work.
Now, how do you feel about the Little Mermaid ride?
I have not. Oh no, it's terrific. It's terrific.
That's
it's
funny.
colorful. The animatronics are fun. They move really
They're
nicely.
great.
But there's this one room in the middle where a
is
lot
it-
of stuff doesn't really move
Is
much.
it the fish? Is
It's
it
the
fish
big
dance?
musical dancing room.
Okay.
Everything like moves
Okay.
two movements.
That's where you can get out. That's where you can get out and smoke.
Ken,
You can see the ceiling and the hanging lights.
Ken,
Yeah, but the
I
song
think
is
you
fun.
need to bring a kid along with you.
Sure.
Because
Okay, you
when
lost
I
me.
had okay, look. My kid, I tell you, when we went on that ride,
Yeah.
you say, well, everything has just kind of two movements. There's a lot of little things in
Right.
there that are moving,
Right.
and it's a very simple move. And I actually found it to be great, and my kid loved it. And did you notice they changed Ariel's hair? By the way,
Yes.
it
Because it was really goofy
No,
before.
remember because the first time you see it, it's like her hair is kind of going. It was kind of
Yeah,
going
water,
up like
yeah.
she was in the water, and they changed it.
Yeah, they fixed it basically because it was
okay.
it was
you
like
say
breaking
fixed.
a lot.
Oh well,
Yeah.
yeah, but they.
Here's the cool thing though.
Yeah.
When
They
you're
fix it by not fixing it.
when you're looking at Ariel in that room,
Yeah.
if you look behind it to your right,
Yeah.
it's Mr. Limpet poking his eyes over.
With the glasses and
Yeah,
everything?
yeah.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
clearly Mr. Limpet.
There's an
Oh
Easter
my
egg.
gosh, that's
Yeah.
which is that we should say that for another time. But
So-
that's a great movie.
All right, well let's get through a couple more of the Disney ones because there's Roger Rabbit is also a dark ride.
True.
Now that's probably motion problems because it spins.
Yeah.
Spins, but mainly moves forward and very fast, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a neat Buzz Lightyear dark ride too, where you actually have a little gun
Yes.
and you shoot the
Yeah.
little
And that is
targets.
fun.
And
I
then,
don't, I don't care for that.
Okay, well, I found that
For-
to be very fun.
Because
I
you're
like it 'cause
competing
you can-
with the person sitting next to you. And you're,
I also like it because it takes a picture and you can like hold a gun to your girlfriend's head, or pretend you're killing yourself, put a gun in your mouth.
Well, that's our show.
there are a lot of there are a lot
funny
of,
picture.
There are a lot of amazing dark
Let's
rides
rename
out there.
the theme of this episode was Ken's Issues.
Not Dark Mind.
We always try to take the most horrible picture possible on that. Right?
This is
Speaking
Now-
of which, a long time ago, myself and two friends, Doug Benson, Brian Posehn, were in Disneyland. We're on Splash Mountain, and they take a picture at the end when you go down the chute.
which is actually also a dark ride because
It's
it
a
has,
dark ride?
it has
Absolutely.
bits of dark.
Really enjoy that.
Yeah. We thought it would
the
be
racism.
hilarious if
Yeah.
we took our shirts off
Uh-huh.
because it looks like you're completely naked because you're covered from the waist down. So we went down, took the picture with our shirts off. They wouldn't let us buy it.
Wait a minute. It's an automatic thing. It's an automatic thing.
But there's somebody supervising there.
They wouldn't let you buy the picture, is what you're saying.
Right. They just...
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's, about Flash Mountain.
Yeah,
right?
okay, so tell us about that.
Flash Mountain is basically people flashing their breasts.
But can you get that picture?
Well, people have snuck those pictures out. Employees,
So the-
CMs have.
We'll go like, hey, give me $5 more. And
No, they've given to the people who did it.
Oh,
they
okay.
took them for themselves and put them on a website. Basically,
You know what you can also do if you're quick,
And that website would be
Flash Mountain.
if you're quick enough, you can stand there where they flash the photos before you have to buy them, and you can take a picture yourself. Of
Oh
the
yeah, I
photo.
always
I
take a
think
picture of my
people.
own
I
photo,
think
yeah.
people are aware of that because when we went on that ride and we got off and we saw the picture, people were doing that. They were taking
Yeah.
their cell phones,
Everybody
putting it up,
did.
It
and
saved
so-
$20.
There you go.
It's not as good as their picture,
Okay.
but
Well, this
worth
happened to me. I was with a couple friends. We were going through Small World, and when we got to Egypt, I overthrew the government. But they're happier now.
Yeah, well,
the
that's
Arab
great.
Spring section of Small World.
Dude, one of the weirdest dark rides used to be. I think this is also gone. It used to be
Disneyland?
It was in World Showcase in Florida.
Okay.
And it was the Maelstrom ride, the Norway Maelstrom ride.
Oh, wait, I went on that.
That's great.
Crazy.
It was because you were on like a log or something.
You're on a log,
and then there's a
Viking
troll.
boat, and there's trolls.
There's
it's really
trolls,
cool.
and they stop you,
Giant
and they
trolls.
turn you backwards.
Yeah,
is that
and then-
not there
and
anymore?
No,
then-
it's still there. It's still there.
But it spins you around. It's
Yeah,
crazy,
right,
and
right.
then you go by an oil tanker.
But see, that's the
right.
weirdest ride
Yes.
ever.
It's all
And, a
about
polar,
oil.
and there's a polar bear on an iceberg.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened to
it's
the
like-
trolls and all the cool
Yeah,
forest?
it
and stuff?
starts off trolls, and then all of a sudden it's like
spins around and everything's crazy.
Norway is working for you. You know?
And you walk out, it says sponsored by Norway.
I have
Yeah.
to tell you that was a great ride. But so it is still there, or it's not?
I think it is still
Okay,
there.
okay.
I don't know. They keep changing stuff in Epcot and World Showcase.
Well, if you guys ever get a chance, our listeners ever get a chance to go on that, it is just crazy.
Yeah,
and it's
bananas.
it's a wonderful, wonderful dark ride. I still don't understand
it is great. The trolls
Yeah.
are really cool.
It goes from a horrifying world into
Fantasy world.
Weird.
Norse supernatural to
Oil
travel
industry
guide.
and yeah,
with a polar bear on an iceberg, and then the oil rig in the background.
Oil
Yeah.
tanker and- yeah.
But it's still a great ride. There are a lot of great
The
dark
best
rides out
timeshare
there.
ever.
There are a lot of great dark rides out there, but I'd still say my favorite has to be Disney's Haunted Mansion. It's such
absolutely.
a great.
And we
great dark
should mention that the Grim Grinning Ghosts, sung by Thurl Ravenscroft, voice of Tony the Tiger,
Yes.
and singer of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch."
yes.
That's right.
Ooh.
He was one of the Grim Grinning Ghosts.
Yeah, among other voices he must have done.
He's great.
That guy
just
had,
want-
and you know what's great about him is in a way he will live forever. Not only because he does the voice sings that song for the Grinch That Stole Christmas, but also in the Haunted Mansion. They film his face,
Yes.
and he's on one of those talking
Yeah.
statues,
He's
right?
the guy with the mustache.
Exactly, and
Cool.
isn't it? He's the broken one. It's
Yeah,
the,
I think so.
and he will always be there.
Yeah.
Who's the greatest name ever, too? Ravenscroft.
Thurl. I'm gonna name my boy Thurl.
Well,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
woman who is the in the seance, Leota Toombs.
Oh my God! You know,
is her real name?
do you remember? Ken, do you remember when you first went on that ride? The ball was just sat on the table.
Yeah, now it floats around.
and now
It's
it
amazing.
floats.
It's
Isn't
really
that
cool.
great?
Yeah.
Is it still her?
No, they changed the face.
Yeah.
I think they changed the face.
Yeah, a few times, right?
But
Yeah.
is the voice the same? I
don't know.
Sure.
It's whoever was
Not.
the queen in Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
Maleficent, not
Yeah.
Maleficent.
Angelina Jolie.
No. No. It, yeah,
No, I
it's
can't remember the actress's
It is her.
name,
It is
but-
her.
I think her name was Gladys.
Yes, Gladys,
Gladys
the
something.
queen.
But anyway, classic dark ride.
Now, James, once again, I have to prompt you for a story of something that happened to you on our other favorite dark ride at Disney, which is the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes.
Fire away.
Well, about 20 years ago, I was dating a lovely young woman who happened to be very conservative, and I happened to be pretty liberal. I didn't realize she was conservative at the beginning. It took a little while.
Conservative politically or just conservative in her demeanor?
Both.
Both.
She had the Rush Limbaugh book and the Barbara Bush book in her bookcase.
Holy crud.
She lived in Bakersfield.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Enough said.
No, it's
Living in
great.
Park-
No,
Bakersfield.
Yeah, no,
wonderful,
it's
you know.
fine. It's
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So you guys, what?
So
Sociopath.
we go on a date at Disneyland, and it's going along very well. But one of my contact lenses starts to irritate me, and then it starts to hurt, like piercingly. Like I got to take it out. And the problem, if you have one contact in and one out, is that you get very dizzy. So I was really lucky. I realized that I was in one of the few places in the world where you could find an eye patch. And the Pirates of the Caribbean gift shop. So I go in there and I'm like, thank you, God. This saves the day. And it's only like $2.95. And she's like, you're not going to wear that, are you? I'm like, honey, this we can drive home now because
You're
I
at
can
Disneyland.
actually-
You'll be the coolest guy there.
Yeah.
People are wearing
Mickey Mouse
Peter
ears.
Pan
People-
hats.
yeah. Are you
You're
serious?
you're the
So-
closest thing to a real pirate in that park.
She was so uptight she wouldn't even talk to me. I'm like, that was it.
Was that the last date?
We jumped the shark at that moment, I think.
Was that the most miserable time at Disneyland you ever had?
Actually, it was an epiphany. I enjoyed the rest of the evening even more.
With your iPad.
Did you talk pirate talk only?
Would you be wanting a ride home?
Yo ho, yo ho.
So let me ask you. So if you had accidentally cut your arm off, would you have gotten a hook?
And that would have been truly beautiful.
She would have really been appalled.
That was like $4.95. Nothing to it.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, you know what? This has been a really good time.
Oh, it's been great. This is fantastic.
Wow. Trip down memory lane, and I want to go. I want to go to Disneyland tomorrow.
Yeah. I am going to.
Going to Disneyland tomorrow. We'll see you there.
In a few hours.
But this concludes another action-packed episode of Monster Party.
So keep America strong.
Watch horror movies.
Gritty ghosts. Gritty ghosts. Yes. Yes.
This is taking way too long. We're waiting for music
Hurry
from
back.
Ken's phone.
Hurry back.
Hurry back. Oh my God, this is so long. This is a long. Yeah. Good night.